YouTube channel. There's some big news really from the BBC in reference to Nibiru. I'm just going to click the play button on this video here. As you can see, taken from the BBC News, astronomers want help from amateur stargazers, and the reason they're asking for this is because they really believe that there's a ninth planet beyond Pluto, which is what we've discussed for many years about Nibiru. There's also a website you can log on to, which I'll leave a link to in the description, and there'll also be a slight show of this within this video. But the astronomer Brad Tucker is the guy leading this investigation, because they've seen some waves within our solar system that shows that there's an ecliptic orbit, and this is what we've been saying for quite a number of years now in reference to Nibiru. So please have a look at the information within the description. Have a look at the links on there, and I'll be happy to. Guys, okay, so this is the website, which is it's called zooniverse.org, discussing the ninth planet in our solar system. There's quite a bit of information in here. You can have a scroll round. I will leave a link in the description, so have a good look over what they're trying to do and have a look at some of the information in there. There's not many people talking about it, but there has been some discussions whether this is actually anything to do with Nibiru. However, there's been a lot of information there that appears to come straight from astronomers looking at what they can see from their telescopes and whether this is really linked to Nibiru. So please feel free to have a look around. The links will be in the description. If you have any questions, please add in the comments. I would really appreciate a like on this if you have the time. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll hopefully speak to you again.
Back in the 1950s, most people aren't aware of it, but there was a scientific storm in America all through the late 50s about this thing out there in space, because the astronomers were all watching it, and that was back when they weren't afraid to talk about it. It was in the science magazines. I mean, I had a subscription to, like, Popular Science, and hell, it was on the front cover of the magazine one day in, like, 1961. And I was really excited when I saw it, because here's this giant red planet on the horizon of the California coast, and a humongous tidal wave coming in towards the coast, and having grew up in the mountains of the Sierras, and this thing in the magazine, it said this tidal wave coming in was going to be at least 3 miles high, and I went in and showed it to everybody in the house, and they laughed, and they said, look, it says right here, there's nothing to worry about. It won't be here for another 50 years. Hey, guess what? That 50 years has came and gone. And this baby's out there in the sky. They've been watching it. I watched it. And I can tell you, this thing has got so much trash coming around it. You know how we live in a solar system? We've got 9 planets and a big sun. This thing has got 7 planets and its own sun. But I believe that instead of having dirt on it like our planet does and water, I think this thing is just a big, bright reddish-orange iron ball because it's giving off all this red iron oxide dust out into the atmosphere. When we saw it, at first, it was just a teeny little red speck of fuzzy red dust in the distance, but over the years as it went by and we watched it, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally, about 2008, we could see this thing like it was across the street. And we could see that it was a blazing hot ball of fire giving out sparkles of red iron oxide dust for thousands of miles in every direction. And you could see the planet circulating it. Now, I'll tell you one thing that I really am nervous about. I think this thing's got a planet like ours circling it. This is its own solar system. We're about to have a solar system come through the middle of our solar system. This can't be good. But unfortunately, it looks as though that's what's going to happen. Hopefully nothing in this mess will hit us, even though it does say it will in the Bible, at least as it does in my Bible. It says we can expect all kinds of problems. We were looking at asteroids. Right close to this thing, there's asteroids that are floating around right near that are orbiting the main sun itself. These things appear to be about 500 miles across. And as you go back into the tail, you get into meteorites that go back for millions of miles in the tail. This thing looks like a giant red teardrop-shaped dust cloud. And you can see, if you're able to see it up close like we did, you can see every speck out there. I guarantee you there's trillions of meteorites following this thing. Now, these CIA people that I know say that we're not going to be that close to it when it goes past us. They're saying that in order to attain breakaway speed, when it comes up around the backside of the sun, its speed will at least double, possibly more, which will put it here earlier than everybody is saying it will. And that this thing will probably be about 20 million miles from us when it crosses in front of us. And then as soon as it flips us upside down, we're going to go into its debris field tail and be pelted with meteorites. And, of course, in the Bible it says they will talon 70 pounds. So if you've got 70-pound meteorites falling like hail, and I can guarantee you they will be falling like hail because there are that many in the tail of this thing. This thing has got a tail loaded with trash. I mean, it's incredible the amount of stuff that's in this thing's tail. And we're going to go right through that tail, and if it doesn't beat everything on the surface of the ground into a flat putty, I don't know what it'll take. I tell everybody, you better be at least 20, 30, 40, 50 feet on the ground and have either concrete or stone above you because it'll break through the roof or whatever you've got if you don't. These CIA guys told me that this pole shift will probably happen from start to finish in around 28 minutes. That doesn't give you a lot of warning. When you see that thing out there in the sky, you're going to have to run as fast as you can to your underground facility because this is going to happen so fast. Now, see, here's another thing nobody's talking about. You've got this giant iron planet that they say is 47,000 miles across, getting ready to come up past us. And when it starts to approach us, it's going to start and have real serious effects.
So is it a planet or a failed star?
It's not a failed star. You know, I saw this thing up close. It did not look like a failed star. It looked just like our sun.
Right.
Okay? Would you call our sun a failed star?
No. Okay, well, you had said planet. I wasn't sure if it was like a failed star brown dwarf or a full sun. So it's a full sun?
It looks to me like a miniature sun, just like the one we have. The only difference is our sun is giving off flames and stuff, and this one's doing the same thing as it, but it's giving off this red iron oxide cloud of dust around it, and until it got close, we couldn't even tell what was in there. We could see it was hot, and it looked like it was just a dull red when we were first able to discern it through the red cloud. But as it approached, it started to become more apparent that this thing is just orange hot. I mean, to tell how hot it is, I was told that they estimated between 5 and 10 million degrees, but, you know, I don't really know, if that's right or not. I mean, it's got to be pretty hot because it's sending all of this red iron oxide dust out into space around it,
right.
And it's got this enormous, and I mean enormous, at least 50 or 100,000 miles on each side of it, this red dust cloud that goes all the way around it. I know when we were watching it, as it started to make the upward swing to approach behind our sun, it was amazing. The red dust cloud settled down. Instead of being round, it started to settle down into a V, like wings, upside down wings.
Right.
And I thought, boy, I wonder if that's where the ancient Sumerians got the idea this thing had wings, because, you know, centrifugal force is a funny thing. When it comes back up around the planet, when we see it in the sky, my guess is it's going to look like it's got wings, because centrifugal force is going to be pulling the red iron oxide dust and particles out to one side, and then as it starts to climb out and go away from us, listen, I was told that this thing's magnetic field is going to be so strong, anybody that does not have a padded lead helmet to wear will have their brain gutted for everything they ever knew, and they'll be a complete raving moron after this thing passes. They'll lose they won't know, they'll pee in their pants. They won't have a clue what's going on, because this thing will gut their brain. And you know, I was reading a deal in my Bible. It says that after this happens, that nobody will care because they won't be able to remember it. Well, of course, I was told by somebody the reason that is because the electromagnetic field from this thing will be so strong, because, see, as it comes up underneath of us, it's going to start and pull us toward it. And then, just like a pair of big magnets, all of a sudden it's going to lock onto us. And when it does, it's going to be like the Jolly Green Giant hit the earth in the ass. It's going to send a jolt 500 to 1,000 foot high. This is what I'm told. 500 to 1,000 foot high shock waves all the way around the planet Earth. They'll be so bad that in a lot of areas that don't have good solid soil, it'll fluff it so badly that you'll practically be like you're standing in quicksand. And that this thing's magnetic field will literally gut your brain of everything. And so you may want to give some thoughts to getting you some sheet lead, build you a little lead helmet to wear, you know, like a little motorcycle helmet to protect your entire brain and the back of your neck, so that way this can't happen. Because, you know, if these guys are right about this, and I'm pretty sure they are, because I know for a fact they know what they're talking about when they say stuff. And so, you know, and it does sound reasonable to me, knowing what I do about electromagnetic energy, that this could happen.
So what you're hearing, folks, is the interview with a CIA buddy that saw exactly what we're talking about, going way back. He looked through the Hubble telescope. He says, I saw, like it was across the street. So when you have first-hand eyewitness that says, I saw it, he's describing what he saw. Now we know, we can tell he's not an astronomer. He doesn't even say the word correctly. He's probably not that educated in any of the field of science when it comes to this. But he was lucky enough to have a buddy that was there. He could take a glance into the Hubble telescope and see something that probably scared the bedoodles out of him. And they were looking at this thing back in the day when it wasn't being covered up, because they felt there was enough time. There was enough time to prepare down the road. It wasn't an immediate risk. So no big government cover-up yet. But then once somebody got a hold of it and said, listen, we can't let this cat out of the bag, because, yeah, it might not seem dangerous today, but there'll be enough people making some waves, pardon the pun, that's going to cause some controversy and some conspiracy theories start running wild. So obviously it got covered up for a while. And then probably about the mid-70s, early 80s is when it resurfaced again. So here we are, folks, in 2017, 50 years later, after this insider has given his account of what he saw with the Hubble telescope back in the 60s. So we know the government has known about this for a long time. They have covered this up. And we have steadily have uncovered the information, whether it be the U.S. Navy flood map to all the information about Nibiru, Nemesis, and its planets in the solar system that's coming through our solar system. The data has been there. We have painstakingly have uncovered it, and with the advent of the internet, the computer, and the social media, we have been able to pass this information along to one another very quickly. And so we know that the effects of what's happening with this solar system passing through us from history of recorded events is real. There's very biblical foundational proof that's happened in the past, whether it be pole shift of the Earth flipping on its axis, the flooding and the tsunamis that come along with that, the melting of the polar caps, the sea level rise, the tsunamis, the earthquakes, the shaking, the earth crust breaking apart, all has been recorded, and we have been projecting the effects coming soon. The size of this Nemesis system in comparison to the Earth is staggering. Thus, why the government has covered this up for all these years. Executive orders written to protect the American people from the truth. And rightly so, because we know how difficult it would be to evacuate 70 million people off the coastlines. And the government has done that too. They realize the pitfalls in regard to moving this many people to safety. But for those of us that do watch these videos and research ourselves to find the proof in the photos of the coming Nibiru and Nemesis system, the collection of these 7 planets that are in our solar system affecting us now will continue to increase. By the time we see it in the sky with the effects coming in, that will be too late. Our time is now to begin acting on these gut feelings and research and data that we have put together. These collective ability of seeing these things before we start seeing the tsunamis flood into the coastlines. Because when this pole shift alignment happens, when Nibiru and Nemesis and the other planets and moons come in proximity to this Earth, it will happen so quickly we will not have time to do anything. The commentator in this video that gave his account said that this pole shift will happen in approximately 30 minutes. So this effect of the oceans and sea level rise will happen very rapidly. We see.
Let us mark this day with remembrance.
Hey YouTube, got a wonderful video for you right now. Watch this till the very end. You are going to love this. Leave a comment and have a wonderful weekend.
Our new policy begins with strictly enforcing U.S. law. Strictly enforcing U.S. law.
America, in the face of our common dangers, in this winter of our hardship. Let us brave once more the icy currents and endure what storms may come. Let it be said by our children's children that when we were tested, we refused to let this journey.
Fire right there by Big Bear.
Let us mark this day with remembrance of who we are and how far we have traveled. Let it be told to the future world that in the depth of winter, when nothing but hope and virtue could survive, that the city and the country, alarmed at one common danger, came forth to meet it. America, in the face of our common dangers, in this winter of our hardship, let us remember these timeless words. With hope and virtue, let us brave once more the icy currents and endure what storms may come. Let it be said by our children's children that when we were tested, we refused to let this journey end.
You've listened to everybody on YouTube. You were hoping everybody had the answer, weren't you? Tell the truth. You did go and listen to everybody on YouTube, all the strange stuff. There's certain YouTube videos you looked at with your door closed, and when somebody walked in, you turned it off. You would be caught alive watching some of the things that you do watch. Not that it's dirty, it's because it's crazy, but you're looking in those places for truth. But I give you this scenario. When prophecy turns into reality, we're going to need some real direction.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
We could potentially go totally off the rails tonight, really. I know I've said that before, and I haven't really gone off the rails. It might actually unleash tonight. Have you guys ever contemplated doing something and where you knew a time would come where you'd have to state something that would make you look like a maniac? And it didn't really matter, because normally when I speak, 5 people actually hear and 1,500 are angry. So they get angry at me every time I speak. But that's okay, so long as it's truth, right? But there is a truth. One day, you know yourselves, you're going to have to try it. You're going to have to tell it to somebody. It's the truth you never want to speak of, but you were given that truth, and it's yours, and you're the only person that can give it, but you don't want to give it. You question that truth yourself. But there comes a point in time where you have to talk about it. My time is approaching faster than I would like it to. There are certain things that the world is looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to. Most people think that diversity in this country makes it a wonderful place. I do not think diversity makes it a wonderful place. I think freedom does. Not the freedom as they have defined it either. See, we're not going outside, and we don't have a military escort stopping your car and throwing you in jail because you want to go to church. When you log on to any website that's religious, you don't have anybody breaking down your doors to take all your computers and put you on a train. You don't have that, right? So we have freedom. That's what makes this country great. Well, I know it's strange because people can complain. I don't like complaints. They do all sorts of things. They have protests in the street that do nothing, but protests don't do anything. I hate to tell you that. It's the truth. Protests are people getting together venting, and it doesn't work. It really doesn't. Because you have to have moral people running the system for a protest to actually work. Nobody cares if somebody else throws a protest. But they do care what the world thinks about them. Well, we may talk about that since you're protesting. 5 days later, nobody's talking about it. Hey, whew, that's over. We sure got them. Let's tell them we'll do it as soon as we can. Talk about it every 6 months, and they'll believe it all the way until I get out of office. Let's do that. That's the way it really works. All the while, a true nation has been forming. Now, tonight's topic, we're going to get into parts of a delusion of epic proportions. I'm telling you right now, your parents were in a strong delusion. Your parents' parents were in a strong delusion. You know it's a delusion because people right now do not believe that delusion has come. Number one, they changed it. They say great deception. That's not what it is. There's a difference between a deception and a delusion, two different things. A delusion is something you accept as reality, as being real. That's just the way it is. And I'm telling you, that delusion has begun a long time ago. So what in the world is that strong delusion? You can't see it, but you can feel it. Because in your soul of souls, you keep saying to yourself, well, something is off. You've listened to everybody on YouTube. You were hoping everybody had the answer, weren't you? Tell the truth. You did go and listen to everybody on YouTube, all the strange stuff. You would be caught alive watching some of the things that you do watch. Not that it's dirty. It's because it's crazy. But you're looking in those places for truth. Huh? You know something is wrong. You're trying, you've got all of you have your fingers stuck up. And you're saying, I want to put my finger on it. So you're walking around with one finger stuck up in the air so you can put your finger on it as soon as you find it. You've been on a hunt for many years trying to find out what in the world is wrong. But nothing has ever settled it. Nothing. Because no one dared come forth to say it. Or did they? Let me give you an example of just how fast we forget. All of us who look at the strange happenings of the earth. Can I do this just so you guys understand what I'm saying? Because people have uttered things and you can't remember. I'm going to show you how that works. Can I demonstrate to you how that works? Everybody listening, I need to demonstrate to you just how fast you can forget and just how much you can accept a big, huge lie and be fine with it. You ready? Are you guys ready? Because you were blindsided. You thought nothing about it. Something happened a long time ago in view of everybody who wanted to see. They told you a big one. Okay, here it is. It was advertised. It was marketed. It was told on television, hey, don't miss the big event of something smashing into the moon. You guys remember that? Who remembers that? How that they were going to crash something, cause an explosion on the moon. Do you guys remember that? Do you remember that? Huh?
NASA now has a new plan for the moon. They're going to bomb it tomorrow morning.
Thank you very much. We have an announcement to make. On July 4th of this year, America will blow up the moon.
Do you see?
America can, should, must, and will blow up the moon. And we'll be doing it during a full moon, so we make sure we get it all.
The greatest dream of a high school experiment you could have, and we're doing it to a little piece of ourselves to understand what it might be telling us about the history of water in the solar system and how the moon really works.
Do you see? Do you see?
Yes, I see.
That was during the Obama administration. Do you remember? They had it on commercials and television. In fact, when they made that announcement, I said, boy, they're getting bold. They just, don't tell people anything.
If there's enough water there, you can use it for rocket fuel to come home. You can use it for water to drink, or you can split it to make at least oxygen and bring some nitrogen. So it's called in situ resource utilization. That's NASA speak for using stuff that's there.
And then the reaction from the public was astounding, right? It was astounding. Everybody said, oh, that's boring. That's what they said. That's boring. Are you kidding? This is what they did. Hardly any viewers saw that. Now, they told people something. Nobody wanted to see it. They didn't care about it. It exploded. They showed it on television the next day, reported that on the news, and the ratings went down. That's what happens when you tell a truth. And then people came up with their own definition, and so finally they laid in that saying, well, they achieved what they want to achieve, and you didn't hear about the story anymore. Most people forgot it, didn't they? Didn't they? Here's the funny part. It was recorded. Many people had recorded that episode themselves through their powerful telescopes and actually saw it. A lot of people at one time recorded that, but nobody wanted to see it. That is so funny. Now, why would you send something up there to explode? Here's the funny part. They send something up there to blow the topsoil away, so they say, on the moon, right? To blow it away, so they can analyze the fragments that shoot up in the air. That was their excuse.
Now we have a lot of permanently shadowed craters on the moon which contain hundreds of tons. It's been estimated on the North Pole alone, 600 million tons of water. That's enough to make 1.2 trillion pints of Guinness. Okay? Now, just think if we had that. Not that we could drink it all, because we don't need it so much for drinking. But what we do is we split it apart, we get hydrogen and oxygen, and those are our two major rocket fuels. So when we leave the Earth, 85% of our mass is gone because it's rocket fuel. We get to the moon, we got an empty gas tank. Okay? And we fill up with our hydrogen and oxygen. We now have a filled gas tank. We can go, boom, we can go to Mars, we can go wherever we want.
Now, listen, folks, that was their excuse. So in other words, when I'm telling you there was no planning, right? All of a sudden one day hey, we've sent something up there. And what we're going to do is crash it into the moon to see what particles come up. And the public bought that hook, line, and sinker, save for those who were fixated on the very spot where it exploded. And then they had real cool video of something. And they were never allowed. See, they were posted on YouTube. And YouTube took them down within 15 to 20 minutes. Nobody could actually post what they had recorded from many different vantage points. They took them down 15 minutes. They were gone. Well, if it's so, if it's so mundane, why would they take them down? It didn't show anything, did it? Or did it?
Some of the shapes, as I said, some of the buildings were very tall. There were spherical and domed buildings,
There is a stunning three-dimensional girder-like geometry, a scaffolding, rebar, a structural matrix standing above the moon, anchored to the surface by a set of slanted buttresses. The geometry is perfect, meaning it absolutely is consistent with what constructional techniques would be there if you had built something miles high above the current surface of the moon.
How did YouTube respond so fast in 15 minutes? Because they were waiting for anybody to post the videos, that's why. Why didn't they want you to see somebody else's vantage point? Because it's connected to the moon. That big object in the sky you've seen all your life and you still don't know what it is. That thing. The thing that's covered with dust and stuff like that, and you think it's dead, that thing, you know nothing about that thing. And then they scrubbed it from everything. There are specific sites you can go to go look into all the missions they have, and I can assure you the data is missing. Isn't that funny? The real data is gone. I mean, they just scrubbed the thing. It went out of your memory. And now, guess what? People really buy, though they were just looking for, see if water was up there. Isn't that funny? I mean, come on. We've had things go to Mars, and they told us about every single launch because they bragged on themselves. They didn't brag on this one, did they? They mentioned it quickly. And it happened quickly. Now, we all know NASA does not work that way, don't we? They don't do anything quickly. What is wrong with us? All of a sudden, they do something that really doesn't mean a hill of beans, and they do it quick. All of a sudden, quick, right? And everything works right, and they achieve it. They've done everything slow and had problems with everything. Their lie almost broke down. That's why they didn't want those people to put that up on YouTube. You see, there are parts of the moon you can't ever see. But during that time, for those who track the moon, the phase of the moon was very strange. In other words, that was during, it just so happens, that was during the shifting of the moon. Now, when I say a moon shift, that means the same side that faces us was not facing us that time. It was tilted just enough to see something else. And when that explosion went off, well then, it's what happened afterward. They didn't want anybody to see, because it was quite blinding after the explosion. So what are we missing here? Something is missing. Anybody familiar with Operation Argos? Starfish Crime? These 1960s and 50s operations of what they were doing in the high altitudes of the atmosphere. Some of you who have worked in certain areas, this is part of your history. You know about them. You've been briefed on them. But that has to do with what we're going through now. All of this is part of the delusion. And because of that delusion, it's very difficult to accept prophecy. And because you can't accept prophecy, your hopes are being dashed every single day. That's why everybody wants a date. Because they continue to ask year after year, well, is it going to happen this year? I really wish it would happen this year. In fact, it's so bad they have people looking forward to prophecy. The very prophecies they shouldn't look forward to. I think is a good thing and a bad thing. The good part is this. They really want to get out of here because they see the darkness. The bad thing is this. They have no idea what they're asking for. So, to inspect the delusion and to understand prophecy, a delusion is a perceived realm, a mindset that no one can deliver you from. A delusional person does not know they are delusional. So if somebody's walking around and they don't tell you, but in their mind they think the sky is pink, there's nothing you can do to change that. I tell you, it's been going on for a long time. What about the maps that were found in Babylon that depict the continents of the earth back then as they are now with the same accuracy? How about that? Oh, they didn't tell you about that? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, they had global maps just like we have. Of course, in a catastrophe, all the minerals and everything else are going to go back into the earth, and the only thing that will maintain is a stone. Metals will be consumed. That's why there are rust marks all over the stones. Hinges, right? Laser precision. We're just foolish enough to believe in evolution, so we say, well, surely they didn't have a laser. They didn't have that cutting ability. So it seems like all the evidence was washed away and highly kept. They keep it secret, don't they? They keep it all secret. That's why they're the first ones at the site, and then we get to see after they dug it all up. It'd be nice to see an archaeological dig from start to finish, wouldn't it? Of course, you can't go near those places because you're not cleared to be in those places. They never show you that. They show you the aftermath after they grabbed everything interesting. It is so funny with the pyramids because I remember a long time ago when they were digging in certain pyramids, here's what they said. Well, we have a couple things here, a couple things there, a couple things there. Right? Just recently in 2011, here they pop up with all these other artifacts that they told us were in Iraq. I thought they found them all. I thought they shared it with the world. What were they doing in Iraq? Why were they being traded all over the world? And then once they were stolen, then they began to talk about it. Their little secret got out.
Just 2 days ago, the police again arrested 3 criminals, another 3 criminals with 5 objects. Now we are missing 37 objects from the museum. I hope that all the authorities in Egypt will cooperate in order to repatriate our missing artifacts.
During that time, the UK and America were at odds on a few things because they have one ideology. They're going to fool you big time. Because anything out in the open is not how they're going to do it. Now, what is more plausible? Let's just talk about some things here. There's one thing nobody questions, including reality. He never questioned the delusion. It would be like you waking up in your house, but you're not really in your house. You wake up every day, it's your house, you cook breakfast, send the kids off to school. But in truth, that's not your house, right? If it were true, that's not your house, but somebody made something to look like your house. They made a mock-up of your house. You're living in there, but you're inside a larger facility because they know you're scared to go outside and venture outside of certain paradigms. You would think that was your house. You would think it's real, but everybody else would look at you from the outside and say, poor thing, they're stuck. There's no way they can find their way out. Half of your circumstances are delusions. They're not even real. Let me give you an example of that. How many times have you worried about the end result of your circumstances? And then 5 years later, you found out you were worried about nothing and you truly wasted your time. You could have been doing things instead of worrying. How many have done? I've done that so many times. Sit up and worry about something, and then after it's all over, you say, well, I just wasted time worrying. That was ridiculous. You were caught in your own delusion. When you're worried about something, you cease to do everything. Worry itself is a delusion. It's one of the doors into the strong delusion. That's why I don't like worry. I don't like worry is unfounded, period. It has never been justified, nor will it ever be. And again, a delusion can never be observed, can it? Or it wouldn't be called a delusion. Right? Is it not delusional to waste your time in worry and tears and starve yourself and everything else, but then 5 days later that same thing you were worried about never transpires? Or the ending is nothing like you had imagined? Were you not in something that was not real? That's exactly what you were in. You were in a condition. And your mind made the worry. It justified that worry. Your own thoughts, you were trapped in your thoughts of a horrible outcome, of an unsure outcome. You were delusional. You weren't seeing the truth. If you're not seeing the truth, what are you seeing? A lie. If you sit there and worry, and if you have worried, and some of us have done this for 30, 60 days, but the outcome is nothing like we imagined, for all that time, we were believing a lie. So we have already done that. And we were in that delusion while we did it. Now, examine this. When you're worried about something, how hard is it to break that cycle of worry? It's not easy, is it? It is not easy, is it? It's not easy. You know and I know the only way to break that worry, certainly over financial things, is to have finances in your hand. It's the only way to break it, right? Listen to me close. When a person is worried over financial situations, what breaks the worry is to have money in their hands. That's why you pray, Lord, please handle this, and somebody puts money in your hand, and you say, praise the Lord, it's done. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or am I wrong? Am I right or wrong?
Am I right or am I right or am I right? Right.
I would love to stand here and talk with you, but I'm not going to.
We do this all the time, don't we? We do stuff like that all the time. So he's breaking the cycle. Why? Because that's part of the delusion. When you believe a prayer with the wrong premise works, which so many people do, and they start breaking down in life when they're no longer answered, that's when they're shaken and they get their lives right. If you succumb to worry, that's like succumbing to a delusion. And if you can remember that, you'll say, wait a minute, because it's hard to break this cycle of worry. Well, the same thing happens in a delusion. Because worry is nothing more than your imagination dictating an end that never comes. Correct? Now you have something to compare it to.
But I say to you, hey, look at me. Please, don't worry so much. Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting.
With trust, you will stand. Without trust, you are certain to fall. Okay? God bless each of you.